Nora Reed had long ago learned that space was a graveyard waiting to happen. As chief engineer of the survey vessel Helios, she'd seen her share of derelicts and disasters. But the abandoned research station hanging in orbit between the binary pulsars of the Vega 9 system was something else entirely. Approaching docking bay, she reported into her comm, maneuvering her shuttle toward the listing structure. Structural integrity at approximately 30%. Whatever happened here, it wasn't gentle. Remember, we need those gravitational measurements, Captain Tanner's voice crackled back. The Helios can't get close enough without risking hull breach. Be quick, Reed. The station rotated slowly, bathed in the eerie blue-violet light of the twin pulsars. According to the logs, the station had been abandoned nearly 80 years ago when the Terran expansion forces had swept through this sector, claiming it from the indigenous spacefaring species. Standard colonization protocol: find, conquer, forget. After docking, Nora stepped into the derelict station, her boots magnetizing to the floor. Emergency lights flickered dimly, casting long shadows through the abandoned corridors. Most systems were dead, but something was still drawing power. "I'm detecting an energy signature 3 levels down," she murmured. "Faint but steady." The deeper she ventured, the more unusual the architecture became. The smooth, utilitarian Terran design gave way to flowing, organic curves and symbols etched into metallic surfaces that seemed to shimmer despite the darkness. "This wasn't ours," Nora whispered, running her gloved fingers over inscriptions that reminded her of waves and stars. "This was Lumary construction." The Lumary, a species thought to be extinct cosmic navigators whose technology had been built on their intrinsic connection to stellar phenomena. The history archives painted them as dangerous mystics whose abilities threatened human expansion. But the evidence Nora had uncovered in her academic research suggested otherwise. Following the energy signature led her to a sealed chamber. The door, unlike the others, showed no signs of forced entry or decay. It stood pristine, covered in intricate patterns that pulsed faintly with internal light. "I've found something," she reported, "a sealed Lumary chamber." "Anything useful for the mission?" Tanner's voice held impatience. Nora hesitated. "Possibly, give me time to investigate." After studying the patterns, she recognized the sequence, a locking mechanism keyed to the pulsar's frequencies. As the twin stars aligned in their rotation, the door responded to their combined radiation signature, sliding open with a soft hiss. Inside, suspended in a crystalline pod that glowed with inner luminescence, was a being. Tall, with skin the color of twilight and features both alien and strikingly beautiful. Male, by human standards, with silver markings trailing down his arms and torso. His eyes were closed, his expression serene. A survivor, a Lumary, preserved in stasis while his entire civilization had been erased from the galaxy. Nora's breath caught as the twin pulsars aligned precisely, their combined light streaming through the station's viewports. The crystalline pod hummed in response, and for the first time in 80 years, the Lumary's eyes opened, revealing irises that captured and reflected the starlight like living galaxies. The Lumary's eyes focused slowly, galaxies swirling in their depths as they fixed on Nora. His pod hummed with increasing intensity, the crystalline structure dissolving like morning dew under sunlight. He fell forward and Nora rushed to catch him, surprised by how light he felt despite his tall frame. "Easy," she whispered, supporting his weight as he struggled to stand. "You've been in stasis for decades." The being regarded her with a mixture of confusion and wariness. When he spoke, his voice resonated with harmonics that made the air vibrate. "Human," he said, the universal translator in Nora's suit struggling to process his speech patterns. "Why has Thalia been awakened? The celestial alignment is premature." "Thalia," Nora repeated, Is that your name? I'm Nora Reed, engineer on the survey vessel Helios. She gestured to the deteriorating station around them. This structure is failing. The pulsar's orbits have degraded faster than predicted. Thalia straightened, his silver-marked skin shimmering as he took in his surroundings. The remnants of what appeared to be ceremonial attire, a fitted tunic and leggings made of material that seemed to capture and refract starlight, clung to his form. The temple of dual resonance, he murmured. What became of the others, the keepers of harmony? Nora hesitated. The historical records say the Lumeri civilization was lost during the Terran expansion, almost 80 years ago. His expression remained composed, but the light emanating from his skin dimmed noticeably. Not lost, exterminated, your people feared what they could not understand. My ancestors, not me, Nora clarified, though the distinction felt hollow. I'm a xenoarchaeologist as well as an engineer. I've studied what fragments of Lumeri culture survived. The pulsar's light intensified suddenly, their radiation patterns synchronizing. Thalia gasped, his back arching as the twin stars' energy washed over him. Silver markings across his skin brightened, tracing patterns that mirrored the celestial bodies outside. The harmonious convergence, he whispered, eyes wide. It still occurs. What's happening to you? Nora asked, alarmed by his reaction. Renewal, the pulsar's alignment activates dormant aspects of Lumeri physiology. His voice strengthened as he spoke. We were attuned to stellar energies, navigators, healers, preservers of cosmic balance. The chamber trembled as a section of ceiling collapsed nearby. Thalia's eyes widened. The station cannot withstand another alignment, he said urgently. The structural integrity is compromised, yes, Nora finished. My shuttle's docked at level 1, we need to leave. Thalia moved to a wall panel and placed his palm against it. The station's lights flickered as information streamed between his consciousness and the remaining systems. There are archives, the last records of my people, he said. I cannot leave them. We'll take what we can, Nora promised, but we have minutes, not hours. As they gathered critical data crystals from the chamber, Thalia paused beside a small altar. The Lumeri weren't mystics, he said quietly. We were scientists who understood that consciousness and cosmic forces are interconnected. Nora watched as he pocketed a small crystal pendant, perhaps the last remnant of his personal history. I believe you, she said. Now let's go before we join your people in extinction. The station groaned around them as they began their ascent, racing against the increasing gravitational distortions from the synchronized pulsars that had awakened both Thalia and the memories of a civilization thought lost to time. The shuttle lurched violently as they detached from the disintegrating station. Through the viewport, they watched as the ancient structure began to break apart, pulled by the intensifying gravitational forces of the pulsars. Can you pilot this vessel? Thalia asked, studying the controls with evident curiosity. Better than most, Nora replied, her hands dancing across the console. But we're caught in the gravitational eddy. The Helios is too far to reach us in time. Thalia hesitated, then placed his hands on a blank section of the control panel. Silver tendrils of energy spread from his fingertips into the shuttle systems. What are you doing? Nora asked, alarmed. Sensing the stellar currents, he answered, eyes half closed in concentration. There, a slipstream between the pulsar fields, if we time the thrust precisely. Nora didn't question him. She'd come too far to doubt now. Following his guidance, she angled the shuttle into what appeared to be a suicidal trajectory, then fired the thrusters at his signal. The vessel shuddered, then shot forward through a narrow corridor of stable space between the pulsar's competing gravitational fields. That was, she exhaled shakily, incredible. It is what we were, Thalia said softly, navigators of the impossible paths. With a safer distance established, Nora opened communications with the Helios. Captain Tanner's response was immediate and furious. Read what the hell happened, and what's this about a survivor? The station was Lumery in origin, she explained. And yes, I found a survivor in stasis. His name is Thalia. A long pause followed. A living Lumery, command will want it contained immediately. Him, Nora corrected firmly, and he just saved our shuttle from being crushed. We'll discuss this when you dock, Tanner said coldly. Helios out. Nora leaned back in her chair, stealing a glance at Thalia. He was examining the data crystals they'd salvaged, his expression unreadable. Your captain fears me, he observed. Humans fear what we don't understand, she admitted. It's our worst quality. And your best. The question caught her off guard. Curiosity, maybe, persistence, we don't give up easily. A faint smile curved his lips. Those are Lumery traits as well. The shuttle's life support systems hummed quietly as they drifted in the void, waiting for the Helios to maneuver closer. In the silence, Nora found herself studying Thalia's features, the way the starlight played across his twilight skin, how his silver markings seemed to pulse with his heartbeat. You're starring, he noted without looking up. Nora flushed, sorry, professional curiosity. Is that all? His eyes met hers, those swirling galaxies seeing more than she intended to reveal. I've spent my career piecing together fragments of Lumery history, she admitted, but the archives never captured how, she hesitated, alive you are. And what did you learn of us, Nora Reed? He leaned closer, his scent reminiscent of ozone after lightning. That you were peaceful, advanced, that the war was, she swallowed, unnecessary. Yet your people flourished in our absence. At what cost, she whispered. We lost so much potential knowledge, connection. Thalia's hand moved, hesitantly covering hers. The contact sent a strange warmth up her arm, like standing in sunlight after years in shadow. Perhaps not all is lost, he murmured. The shuttle's comm crackled. Reed, prepare for docking, security will meet you in the bay. Thalia withdrew his hand the moment broken. Your people still fear what I represent. Then we'll have to show them there's nothing to fear, Nora said, meeting his gaze with determination. I won't let them treat you as a specimen or a threat. As the Helios loomed larger in their viewport, Nora realized she'd made a promise she might not be able to keep. But something in those star-filled eyes made her certain it was a promise worth fighting for. Absolutely not, Captain Tanner declared, packing the length of the conference room. The Lumery remains in containment until we reach Starbase 12. Nora stood her ground, arms crossed. He's not a prisoner, Captain. Thalia has rights under the Sentient Species Protection Act. Rights, Tanner scoffed. The Lumery aren't even supposed to exist anymore. Command will want to study him. I am present, Thalia interjected calmly from his seat, and capable of deciding my own fate. 3 days had passed since their narrow escape. While Thalia hadn't been confined to a cell, his movements were restricted to guest quarters and this conference room, always under guard. Commander Jasper, the ship's science officer, cleared his throat. The data crystals Nora recovered contain invaluable information about pulsar navigation. Thalia has been helping us decipher them. Which is precisely why Command wants him, Tanner said. Captain, Nora began, the pulsars are destabilizing faster than predicted. The Helios needs to clear this system within 48 hours or... A violent tremor shook the ship, sending them stumbling. Red alert klaxons blared. Bridge report, Tanner barked into his comm. Massive solar flare from both pulsars, sir. Shields at 60% and falling. Thalia rose, his skin glowing brighter. The final phase of convergence has begun. Your shields cannot withstand it. Then what do you suggest? Tanner demanded. I can navigate a path through the resonance waves, but I must have direct access to your navigation systems. Tanner hesitated, years of military conditioning warring with survival instinct. Captain, Nora pleaded, he's our only chance. Another stronger tremor decided the matter. Do it, Tanner ordered. Hours later, the Helios sheltered in the shadow of a massive asteroid as the pulsars continued their violent dance. Thalia had guided them to safety, but the effort had drained him. Nora found him in the observation lounge, watching the distant stellar storm. You saved everyone, she said, joining him at the viewport. Temporarily, he replied. The asteroid's composition blocks most of the radiation, but we cannot remain here indefinitely. Nora nodded. Tanner's ordered all non-essential personnel to the stasis pods to conserve oxygen and power. We'll wait out the worst of the storm. Yet you're not in stasis, Thalia observed. Someone needed to thank our navigator, she said with a small smile. And I wanted to see you. The ship's lighting dimmed to emergency levels, casting them in shadows broken only by the distant pulsar light and the glow of Thalia's skin. The convergence affects me, he admitted quietly. Awakens aspects of Lumary physiology long dormant, heightens awareness. Awareness, Nora stepped closer, drawn by something she couldn't name. Of energy, of life, his eyes met hers, of you. The air between them seemed to vibrate with unspoken possibility. When his hand rose to her face, the contact sent shivers of warmth cascading through her body. I thought these feelings were lost to me, he whispered. The capacity for connection beyond mere survival. Nora leaned into his touch. I've spent my life studying echoes of the past, never expecting to touch it. When their lips met, it was like capturing starlight, gentle yet electric, impossible yet inevitable. His arms encircled her as the pulsar's distant light bathed them in rhythmic waves of blue and violet. What happens when the storm passes? She asked against his skin. I don't know, he admitted, but for this moment we are here together. Perhaps that is enough. As the ship hummed around them and the universe continued its ancient dance, Nora and Thalia found resonance in each other's arms. Two beings from worlds torn apart by history, finding harmony in the spaces between heartbeats. The Helios limped toward the jump point, its engines straining against the pulsar's relentless gravitational pull. On the bridge, tension hung thick in the recycled air. Jump engines at 30% capacity, reported Lieutenant Farrow. We're not going to make it, Captain. Tanner's grim expression confirmed what they all knew. The Vega 9 system was collapsing faster than predicted, the twin pulsars beginning their final, catastrophic merger. Nora looked to Thalia, who stood studying the navigational displays with intense concentration. The past week had transformed him from unwelcome passenger to essential crew member, his knowledge of stellar phenomena proving invaluable. And to Nora, he had become much more. There is another way, Thalia said, his voice cutting through the hopelessness. A forgotten path my people once used. We're open to suggestions, Tanner replied, desperation overriding his lingering mistrust. Thalia's fingers traced patterns on the star chart. The pulsar's convergence creates a temporary subspace corridor, what your physicists might call a slipstream. With precise calculations, we could ride it beyond the system's edge. That's theoretical, Commander Jasper objected. No ship has successfully navigated a pulsar slipstream. No human ship, Thalia corrected. The Lumary did so regularly. Nora stepped forward. I've reviewed the data crystals. The navigation principles are sound. The risk, Tanner asked. Significant, Thalia admitted, but certain death awaits if we remain. The captain nodded once, make it happen. As the crew prepared for the desperate maneuver, Nora found a moment alone with Thalia in the engineering bay. His skin glowed brighter than usual, the silver markings pulsing rapidly. You didn't tell them everything, she said quietly. He met her gaze steadily. No. The slipstream navigation requires a Lumary consciousness to guide it, she continued. You'll have to link directly with the ship systems. Oh yes, and the strain could kill you. Thalia took her hands in his. My people believed that nothing truly ends, Nora. Energy transforms, consciousness evolves. That's not comforting, she whispered, tears threatening. What awaits beyond this system? He asked suddenly. The question confused her. If we survive, Starbase 12, then Earth probably. They'll want to debrief us, study the Lumary data. Well, study me, he finished. The truth hung between them. Despite Tanner's newfound respect, Earth Command would never allow a Lumary to move freely through human space. I won't let that happen, Nora promised. Thalia smiled gently. Perhaps we need not choose between my freedom and your home. The ship shuddered as another wave of gravitational distortion hit them. Final preparations are complete, he said. There is something you should know, Nora Reed. The slipstream has properties we didn't discuss with the others. It doesn't merely transport, it can transform. Those who navigate it can sometimes choose their destination. Understanding dawned in her eyes. You're saying we could go somewhere else, beyond Earth space. The universe is vast, he said simply. There are worlds where humans and Lumary once lived in peace before the war, sanctuary worlds forgotten by both our peoples. The bridge comm interrupted them, all personnel to stations, slipstream approach in 10 minutes. Nora made her decision in a heartbeat. What do you need me to do? Be my anchor, he said, touching her face tenderly. When I connect to the ship, I'll be adrift in cosmic currents. Your presence will help me remember my purpose. As the Helios approached the narrow band of stable space between the converging pulsars, Thalia connected himself to the navigation systems. His consciousness expanded beyond the ship, feeling the cosmic forces swirling around them. Nora stood beside him, one hand on his shoulder, the other on the console. The bridge crew watched in amazement as the viewscreen filled with impossible colors as the slipstream opened before them. Now, Thalia called out, his voice resonating with otherworldly harmonics. The ship surged forward into swirling light. For a breathless moment, reality itself seemed to pause. Thalia's eyes met Nora's one last time. Choose, he whispered. And in that suspended moment between worlds, she did. When the Helios emerged from the slipstream, it wasn't into the familiar space near Starbase 12. Instead, a golden binary system greeted them, its planets lush with life. A forgotten sanctuary where the future was unwritten, and two beings from worlds once at war could discover what it meant to build something new together.